Hi, I'm Alan Ross. I'm the managing editor of APC Media's publications, Transformer Technology, Power Systems Technology, and Women in Power Systems. We're here at the IEEE PEST&D conference in Anaheim in 2024, the 60th anniversary. These interviews are with thought leaders to be able to bring the best of the marketplace to you. Okay, my next guest is Ben Lanz. Ben is a friend and a family member, and by that I mean we met each other at a NETA conference years ago. Ben has been a frequent speaker there. I was speaking that one time, and we connected. Ben has been with IMCORP from, I guess, your entire adult working career, is that right?
Certainly after college, right?
Certainly after college. Okay, I know you threw newspapers when you were in high school, but I'm not going that far back. But Ben, thank you for joining me. It's brilliant. It's always great to talk to you. Ben is my go-to person when we talk about undergrounding, not just cable, but when we talk about undergrounding. Talk to me a little bit about the issue and how that is changing and why it's so prevalent. I know PG&E is spending billions of dollars in order to underground cables because of forest fires, something that caused them to file bankruptcy.
Right.
It's a big issue, but it's not just forest fires. Talk about undergrounding and the importance of the future grid that we're building.
Yeah, well, undergrounding is one of the tools, but is one of the big tools of developing the resilience. Resilience being the ability to withstand a lot of weather, a big impact event, and also recovery, the ability to recover quickly. So instead of multi-day events, perhaps just one day or maybe not at all.
Yeah.
So there's a number of drivers that are driving utilities to underground more. And one of those is weather, but it's also aging infrastructure. We have equipment that just can't withstand the kind of storms that they used to. We also have utilities that are starting to take a more life cycle analysis to their grid investment. And when you look at the life cycle of a wood pole structure and how often those need to be replaced, and you look at what it costs to put underground, while underground might be a little more costly up front, if you look at the life cycle, it actually lasts longer. And if you can make that investment and depreciate that capital investment over a longer period of time, which some utilities are doing, the economics actually favor underground more and more frequently. And then now the drivers that are driving, as I said, weather is one of them, but it's also where we're living, right? We are choosing to live in risky places. Almost a third of the population in the United States.
Choosing to live in risky places.
Right, a third of the population lives along the coasts, and many are in flood zones that along beautiful river valleys and things that our ancestors never would have lived, that on the wildlife interface, right? Right up against the lands that would have wildfires. Ordinarily, we as a population, as a species, would never take that kind of risk. But I think we've gotten to the point where we think, well, we can insure things and we can just drive away if there's a problem, right? And there's some truth to that, but there's also a price.
Yeah.
And as we try to make our grid resilient against wildfires, against hurricanes, against ice storms, we're seeing that more and more utilities are taking that life cycle analysis and saying, you know what, the equation is positive for putting it underground. And certainly, as we all start relying on electricity more, relying on for more and more of our activities, such as cooking, such as obviously keeping a temperate climate in our home, but even perhaps more critical, how we be safe, right? If we have an electric car, how are we going to drive away if we can't charge it, right? From danger. So a lot of our life and our jobs are relying on a resilient and reliable power grid, and underground is one of those big tools that utilities are finding.
I used to live in a neighborhood in the Atlanta area, and there wasn't underground. There were poles everywhere, right? And we would suffer light flickering, a lot of foliage problems. It's Georgia. You're going to get a lot of wind, and there's pine trees. They're about as sturdy as nothing. They're like matchsticks. So you get all these outages and like that. We moved to a neighborhood, and what was amazing to me, I didn't know it until we moved in. Everything is underground. Everything. And I mean, the beauty of it, the fact that I don't worry about trees falling on power lines and things like that, it's quite amazing. So there's a thing about how we live, as you mentioned, how we live, that there's an aesthetic to it. You know, the aesthetic in a neighborhood is, I don't want, remember the original when Westinghouse started wiring and Tesla was wiring the cities? There were wires everywhere. They were run across from buildings. Yeah. It was a DC nightmare. You're buying power from this guy to send across. Thank goodness we have grown up and the cities have gone underground. So that's a big issue. A lot of transformers are underground now. Cities particularly. Vault transformers, that kind of a thing. Talk to me, so you've talked about the problem or the future of undergrounding. It's particularly keen for you now because you used to be with IMCORP. That's how I introduced you. You are now with a new company. It's not a new company, but a new company to you called Osmos. Tell me a little bit about the transition from IMCOR to Osmos. Is you keeping the brand IMCOR, or has that just been...
Yes, we're keeping the brand. It's IMCORP as an Osmos company.
Okay.
So, as you said, Osmos is not new. They go back 90 years.
Oh, wow.
And the original focus was wood. They were wood specialists.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Wood poles, They know how to address wood poles better than anybody else. They have analytics and even AI that can help with wind loading calculations. So they've got poles down pat. But since then, they've moved to steel towers and concrete structures and really selling that resilience as a service. Well, obviously, with all of this underground infrastructure, that's not only aging that needs addressing, but also all of the new undergrounding. So, you mentioned PG&E earlier. Well, PG&E is talking about 10,000 miles. Well, Florida Power and Light is talking about 27,000 miles.
Oh my goodness.
All of their URD overhead line will be underground in, about 10 years or so. They see the value in it. They see the life cycle value in it. And even the state recognizes the value in it because there's a gross domestic product associated with being out for several days.
Oh yeah.
The gross domestic product of Florida is on the order of $3 billion a day.
Yeah.
So if you have just a couple days outage, all of a sudden you could invest in a lot of infrastructure. So Osmos obviously sees that trend, right?
Right.
And they say, well, we're going to form an underground division. And we have a CEO who comes out of the GE ecosphere there, and that really understands field service. He actually was a field service engineer years and years ago.
Wow, yeah.
Came up through the ranks and is taking that GE rigor and bringing it over to Osmos. He's been the CEO for 2 years, Mike Adams, and he has a vision to be best in class using cutting edge technology for every asset, whether it be overhead or underground, and to be able to sell these services as a reliability and resilience as a service. Being able to address the issues that utilities have today.
So is he the CEO of Osmos or CEO?
CEO of Osmos, right.
Okay.
Mike Adams, right.
And so the division, the underground division, is it going to have a separate name, or it will be an Osmos?
No, it's Osmos Underground Services.
Okay, and where does IMCOR fit in that?
So the underground services is made up of a number of components, right?
Okay.
Just like underground systems are.
Right.
But the major titles of them are like transformers, like pad mount transformers inspections, vault inspections. Then we have for low voltage, reliability and stray voltage and contact voltage.
Okay.
Some technology that can scan, driving 25 miles an hour down the road, can scan and detect issues on the surface. And then as you go further on down, you look at the medium and high voltage cable systems. That's where IMCORP comes in, because that's where our almost 30 years of expertise coming out of the University of Connecticut Installation Research, so we have a lot of expertise in that area. So really purchasing companies and technologies that are going to be game changers when it comes to underground service and solutions. Like one other solution that we're innovating in is like underground vaults. There's drones that can fly in vaults. So yeah, some utilities still require somebody to go down in that vault and do a visual, do cameras, infrared inspection. Well, there's drones that can do that, do LiDAR and map it to 1 centimeter. I mean, this is game-changing technology from a safety, efficiency, and reliability standpoint. So we want to be best in class in all those assets and have the cutting edge technology to bring that innovation and resilience and really efficiency to our customers.
One day I want to showcase that. By showcase, we actually go wherever you are and we look at all of the different, because that's fascinating to me, how, so the big three, Siemens Energy, Hitachi Energy, GE Vernova, they kind of, because of all the growth and the expectation of change, they kind of said, okay, we're going to carve out everything, we're going to be this, we're going to be that. So you have change at that level, but you have acquisition and kind of new people coming into it, but a lot of acquisition where you wouldn't think it's natural. You would actually think, oh, wait a minute, somebody that works on poles and outside, they're not going to do this. It makes perfect sense in the new environment because you're going to win both ways. Osmos is going to win both ways.
Well, you still need overhead, and overhead's
absolutely.
a big part of it. And actually, I mean, we're advocating for really the best strategy going forward, right? But most reliable, most resilient strategy.
I like the recovery and resilience because I'm a big reliability. I was the president of EPRA that's how you and I met.
Right.
The Electric Power Reliability Alliance. I wish I had done EPRA with reliability and resilience, because reliability is making sure it stays, that it continues to operate. Resilience is, it's going to go down, how do I get it back up? Sure. Recovery is a part of resilience, and there's a lot that goes on with recovery. Houston, by the way, as we talk, just had another flood. I mean, Houston floods every 2 years. And
it does.
How do you keep the power on when all of your substations are underwater? I don't know how they do it there.
Well, at some point, you're going to have outages if the weather is that severe, right?
Yeah.
But certainly we can try to encourage people to live in places that don't flood.
You're not moving everybody out of Houston. You know that.
No,
There's 7 million people there.
Well, true. However, we can make our infrastructure much more resilient.
Yeah, much so.
And we know how to do that.
Right.
And also part of that is helping educate, because some people would say, well, only an overhead system is going to be reliable in a flood. And that's actually not true. While the medium voltage lines or high voltage lines may stay up, like you said, as soon as you get to the substation level, it's vulnerable. And as soon as you get to the meter level, it's vulnerable, right? So, or if somebody has a basement, of course, that's going to be flooded as well. So either way, we need the underground and overhead solutions. We need to make sure that they're best in class and that they're being maintained in the most efficient and reliable way.
Will your role with Osmos stay the same in terms of what has been with IMCORP? Is your role changing, or?
I would say it is the same as it relates to what we've been working on in the industry. And the actual title is Director of Solutions Consulting. So really getting out there with customers, listening to what they need, what their needs are, bringing that innovation or those ideas back to our innovation teams. We have experts in almost every field, but also technology evangelism, getting ideas out there. If there's known solutions for known problems, and also helping people solve those issues on a utility by utility basis. So building those relationships that are going to be trusted and that we've been working to build all of these years, and then using those relationships to make sure we're unlocking those opportunities. Because sometimes, it always comes down to trust in those relationships. And once you have that trust, well, then you can go solve problems very efficiently.
You sound pretty excited about it.
I am. Yes.
That's excellent.
It's an exciting moment in not just my personal history and career, but also for the industry. We heard several talks today, people getting really excited, young people getting really excited about what they're doing and the impact, the vision they see that the grid is going to have on the future of our society.
We've been pretty stagnant for many, many decades, and all of a sudden it's, Katie Bar. I love it because I think not only is it going to get that next generation excited, it is critical. Keeping the lights on, keeping power running, it's not just keeping the lights on anymore. It is advancing society. Last question I want to ask you about is IEEE. How long have you been a member of IEEE?
For probably almost 30 years, because
Okay.
I was a member in college as a sophomore, I think. So
You know, you're the fifth person today that said, yeah, I started in college, 30 years, almost 30 years. We're doing a special edition within a magazine in in August. It's going to be on IEEE. And we're taking this one question I'm about to ask and taking the best answers and putting about 8 of them in and just making it, hey, this is IEEE. This is the question. What is the value that IEEE brings to you personally and to society in general?
it's easy to say, well, the technology and innovation, communication, but to me, and that's wonderful, that's great, but the best part is the networking, the trust.
You're going to be in it. You're going to be in it just because of that.
You build the trust with people over several meetings, and you can get things done so quickly if there's trust. If you have to, this one woman here, I don't recall her name, but she's the vice president of engineering at Southern Cal Edison. I was at the innovation stage, that's why I was a little bit late. And she said, we need to get past the pilot, because often the pilot is almost a trust building exercise.
Right.
I mean, there's a certain amount of vetting we need to do, but we need to accelerate. But we're never going to accelerate the innovation and technology if we don't have that trusted relationships that only come from connecting at events like this, getting in the trenches with somebody and learning something together. That's what makes the industry move forward. And IEEE does that especially well for the Power and Engineering Society.
One more, because in June, we're going to do the same thing for NEDA.
Oh, yeah.
What is the value to society of NEDA? And you know NEDA, you've been around a long time.
I have. So I think NEDA has a role, and I think they have been maturing in that role. I think it's been a little bit of a challenge that it's been a closed group, and that they are seriously looking at how to open that up, like IEEE is.
Right.
I think if they took this model of IEEE and said, well, anybody who's a member can participate in writing standards and documents, I think they're going to really take off. Right now, it's actually just member companies can participate in that. So they are an ANSI organization. They have the ANSI standards, but the only people who can actually write those documents are the member companies and those of a special group that have been selected. Whereas IEEE, if you're an individual member, you're actually supposed to be representing yourself, not your company, right?
Yeah, right.
In these working groups. And that is the model, I believe, where NEDA needs to go. And they have a role to play in the, I would say, outside of, eventually it may be utility, but primarily outside utility, more in the industrial and commercial space,
Right.
to give people recommended practices and standards to get things done at least a reasonable level that's technically competent. But I can tell you from my own area, cable, they're about maybe 10 years behind what this best practice is.
Okay.
But they won't get there until they open it up and have more interaction. So I think they have a bright future. I think they have a great base. And the next couple steps, in fact, I was just in communications with them this past week, they say that that's what they're looking to do. They're looking to take a more IEEE point of view. And I think they'll get there.
Okay. Ben Lanz, thank you so much. It's
You're
always
welcome.
a delight.
Yes.
Enjoyed it.
Nice meeting you.